Today's Legal on 4, what you need to know about changes in the law for guardians and conservators. If you assist an elderly parent or you care for a disabled child or brother or sister, you may need to go through the court process to be appointed as a guardian or conservator. Arizona Supreme Court is considering significant changes in how these processes work, and you have the right to make comments about these changes before they actually become effective. Our legal contributor Craig Wisdom is here, and I appreciate this is a very kind of a tough subject.
It's a tough subject.
It's very
and
technical.
There's a short window.
Yeah.
But the short news is we're talking about making things more complicated for people.
First off, tell us the difference between a conservator and a guardian.
A guardian, you're appointed to take care of someone's personal decisions and medical decisions.
Okay.
A conservator, you're appointed to take care of their money and property.
So the one is people and one is money.
Exactly, and a lot of times you might need to be both for an adult disabled child or for an elderly parent or other relative.
Okay, so what is the process now?
Now it's still a pretty involved process. You have to go down to the court. You have to have an attorney generally to represent you. They appoint another attorney, they appoint an investigator, and the court has to determine the person really needs this type of help. And if you're appointed as the conservator, they make you report back to them each year, account for taking care of this person's property. It's already a relatively complicated process with a lot of court oversight.
So why do they feel the need to have to make these changes to the rules?
Well, things have been weird, especially up in Phoenix, and there have been a number of high-profile cases where a lot of money has been spent by attorneys and professional fiduciaries on estates and kind of, emptied them out. And this got a lot of people upset, rightfully so. But in response to that, the court's trying to look at, well, can we find a way to come up with a bunch of rules to prevent that from happening again? So this is their attempt to do that.
So some of these changes, some of these proposed rules are family friendly.
A few of them are, yeah. There are things, especially if you're the parent of a disabled child who's under age 18, they're now making it easier for you to become guardian effective when they become age 18. So for instance, if they're 17 and a half, you can go ahead and get this taken care of so there's no gap between where you could make medical decisions for your child.
Okay, and then of course some of them are really annoying and troublesome, and that includes these random visits?
Well, that's one of the things the court was looking at, that in order, they felt that, well, maybe to enforce people taking care of people, we either have to have drop-in visits or we have to have the investigators who are involved to begin with to score people, and this is one of the little sheets I have. They can fill out a form that's like a Cosmo test as to how much you might be in need of a random drop-in or an audit of the accountings. So it could definitely make things more complicated. They may not have the funding for that. That's an issue too, but
yeah,
that's one of the things.
And random, it would be anytime they choose.
Well, we'd see how they work it out. Hopefully it would be reasonable, but it would be hard to plan for.
Also, another thing that might be a problem are audit of finances.
Yes. Now, already, as I said, you have to go into
Right.
the court once a year and show them everything you've done, and that's not an easy process, and the court will find you if you haven't done something correctly. But they're talking about maybe in the interim being able to stop in and audit people, and figure out, show us a current report of what you've been doing with mom's finances.
Wow. And then of course, which we all hate, an increase in paperwork.
There really is. If you go on and look at these rules, and I'll explain where the link for that is, you'll see there's a lot of new forms being added, and some of them like this. There's numbers of pages like this, and they start to look very much like an income tax form. And if you love income tax forms, maybe that's better, but it definitely will make things complicated for everybody. Family members, professionals trying to do this for other people. It just makes things more complicated.
So you say that we all have the right to voice our concern, our opinions, whatever. How do we do that?
Well, the Arizona Supreme Court has these rules pending for people to make comment on their website. You can go to the Arizona Supreme Court website and find these rules. We also have a link on our website of www.bogutsandgordon.com on the front page where it'll take you right to these rules. You can start reading through them, see what you think of them if you're at all interested in the subject or it might be relevant to you now or in the future. And then there's a place for you to post comments if you say, Dear Supreme Court, we don't think this rule would help us, we think it would hurt.
And do you think that these rules is that a formality? Is it pretty much a done deal?
Certainly they come from a respected source, a committee that spent a lot of time coming up with them. So certainly the presumption is probably they will be passed. But it's still not too late. A lot of times they especially look at constructive comments and constructive possible changes. So we encourage people to at least take a look at them.
Absolutely. And if you want more information, just go to kvoa.com.